The film opens with me captivating a group of enchanted young children by reading my favorite story, The Frog Prince. Despite holding a law degree courtesy of my father, I continue to volunteer at the city's literacy program because of my passion for working with kids. The following day, I find myself in an uncomfortable position as I attend an interview at a top law firm that my father approves of. Despite my reservations, I reluctantly go. During the interview, the interviewer emphasizes that the law firm only seeks highly focused employees who have no time for anything else, including volunteering at a literacy program, which causes me to roll my eyes in frustration. Unfortunately, my interview does not go as planned, leaving me in a sour mood. Seeking solace, I meet my friend Sarah at a nearby coffee shop and vent my frustration to her. Sarah sympathizes with my situation and worries that I may not fit in at the law firm. However, when Sarah suggests I consider working at a smaller firm, but I refuse, acknowledging that my father desires only the biggest job opportunities for his daughter, causing me to face-palm in frustration. I launch into a tirade about the pervasive misogyny in the workplace, expressing my reluctance to become embroiled in such a toxic environment. Sarah intervenes, offering to accompany me on a much-needed 2-week European vacation while I await news from the law firm. Initially, I resist the idea, insisting that I am not the spontaneous type. Nevertheless, Sarah manages to persuade me to take a break. My father, Mr. Marks, appears displeased with the prospect of his daughter traveling to an unfamiliar place like Calpurnia. However, my mother is thrilled and even lends me a box of warm clothing for the trip. Mrs. Marks is brimming with excitement as she browses the internet for information on the picturesque and charming kingdom of Calpurnia. She playfully teases me about the possibility of meeting a nice gentleman during my travels. Meanwhile, my father insists that I should focus on securing a job at the law firm. Mrs. Marks, on the other hand, seems to want to live vicariously through her daughter, urging me to have as much fun as possible during my trip. I find myself torn between my parents' conflicting opinions, but ultimately I decided to embark on my journey to Calpurnia and discover what adventures await me. In the next scene, Prince Adrian of the Kingdom of Calpurnia struggles to practice magic. He listens intently as his butler, Felix, briefs him on the day's activities as dictated by his mother, Her Majesty, the Queen. As the heir apparent to the throne of Calpurnia, Prince Adrian's coronation is scheduled to take place in just 2 weeks. Preparations are in full swing to ensure that everything runs smoothly on the big day. During breakfast, the Queen summons Adrian to have a chat with him regarding his recent transgression, which has made the front page of Calpurnia's local tabloid. The media has speculated that the female stranger accompanying Adrian is his latest romantic interest. Adrian seems unfazed by the false story and attempts to explain to the Queen that he was simply giving directions to a female tourist. However, the strained relationship between mother and son becomes apparent, especially with Adrian's coronation fast approaching. The Queen is worried that Adrian does not take his responsibilities seriously and is concerned that he might become embroiled in a scandal that would bring shame to the royal family and their kingdom. The Queen tries to guilt-trip Adrian by using his late father's favorite saying, "Sacrifice in service of your country is not sacrifice." However, Adrian is not swayed and argues that the saying does not entail monitoring his every move. This argument is a recurring theme in their relationship, as Adrian accuses his mother of trying to control him and limit his activities. In response, the Queen demands that Felix, Adrian's butler, chaperone all his activities to keep him in check. She urges Adrian to consider her request and take his duties more seriously as the heir to the throne of Calpurnia. Adrian then makes a bold request to the Queen, asking her to grant him his long-standing wish of inviting the public to witness his coronation. However, the Queen vehemently disagrees and insists that private coronations have been the tradition for ages and that she is unwilling to break it, even for Adrian's sake. The two are at a crossroads on this issue, and Adrian walks away with a cheeky promise to continue with his old ways since no agreement was reached between them. Me and Sarah reach the snow-covered Calpurnia. During our city tour, Sarah becomes upset with me for repeatedly checking my email. Sarah seizes my phone and hands me a brochure containing the town's attractions, urging me to embark on an adventure. Sarah tosses a coin into the enchanted fountain, wishing for me to do something daring in Calpurnia, where anything can happen. Then we both go our part ways to explore the magical city, and I find myself in an alleyway, soaking up the city's stunning scenery. My adorable red hat is snatched off my head by a gust of wind and lands on the path, only to be run over by Adrian on his bike. I yell at him for ruining my new hat, but he simply stares at me in shock, unable to believe the insult. Adrian pedals back to me, takes the soiled hat from my grip, and races away. I am outraged at the brazen thief and try to pursue him, but I am no match for his bike. In the end, I return to the hat vendor's spot, defeated, and prepares to give up my quest for an adventure. However, Adrian, aka The Mask, surprises me by presenting me with a new hat and apologizing for ruining the old one. He even invites me for a coffee, but I refuse. I come to a halt when he hands me the watch he stole from my wrist with a flick of his wrist. I am infatuated with the charming stranger who not only performs magic but also notices my cute smile. Despite my treacherous heart, I find the idea of spontaneity appealing, causing me to reject Aiden's suggestion of meeting up. However, Adrian persists and proposes, leaving our encounter to chance. Later on, Adrian meets with Mr. Wickford, the kingdom's chief of staff, to review his coronation speech. Adrian finds the prepared speech to be impersonal and unrepresentative of him. He proposes allowing the public to witness his coronation but discovers that his mother has already intervened. Despite this setback, Mr. Wickford promises to adjust the speech to Adrian's liking. Then I excitedly share the story of my magical encounter with Sarah, who encourages me to meet up with Adrian and even offers to act as a chaperone. At the hotel's lobby, I intervene when a young girl selling her project work is attacked by the concierge. As the time for our planned meeting approaches, Adrian is stuck at a tedious party in the palace, mingling with pretentious people who refuse to let go of the past. He attempts to escape and make it to his latte date with me before it's too late. The Queen summons Adrian to meet Lady Camilla, a woman from a powerful family who could potentially sway votes in favor of the prince. Adrian knows this is a euphemism for marriage, which frustrates him. Despite his annoyance, he fulfills his royal duties without complaint. Meanwhile, Sarah comforts me, because I was visibly upset by Adrian's tardiness. When he finally arrives, he apologizes and explains that he had a family matter to attend to. Sarah is impressed by Adrian's honesty and allows us to talk while she returns to our hotel. Later, Adrian and I visit a coffee shop where the barista is astonished to see the prince in person. Adrian signals to him not to reveal his royal status to me just yet. As we talk, we realize that we share many similarities, including being only children, wanting different things in life, and dealing with parental guilt. Adrian is hesitant to reveal his royal identity to me as he enjoys being able to talk to me without the weight of his title. When I ask him to share his secret, Adrian panics, thinking I mean his royal secret, but I only meant his magic trick. Despite this momentary scare, our date ends on a high note with plans to see each other again the following day. Adrian returns home to a lecture from the Queen about his late-night bike rides. He is surprised to learn that his father also used to ride, but stopped after becoming king. Adrian resolves not to follow in his father's footsteps and to make his own path. The next morning, he orders a room service buffet for me and invites me on an outing with him through Henry, the concierge. I and Sarah were taken aback by the kind gesture from Henry. However, when I attempt to inquire about Adrian, Henry's responses are cryptic, leaving the women astonished at Adrian's influence over him. Although hesitant about meeting Adrian alone, Sarah convinces me to join him for a night out. As we stroll across a bridge, we discover a mutual love for teaching children. Adrian reveals his role in a foundation that coaches children in volleyball and music, which brings us even closer. Unfortunately, our conversation is cut short by Adrian's late arrival at a royal meeting, and he departs abruptly. Meanwhile, I and Sarah visit the Calpurnia Art Museum and become engrossed in the artwork on display. Sarah stumbles upon a piece that bears an uncanny resemblance to Adrian, and they learn from a guide that he is, in fact, the prince. Excitedly, Sarah calls out to me to share a new discovery that Adrian is actually the prince. After confirming it online and stumbling upon unflattering articles, my mood is dampened. Aiden arrives to take me out on our date, and when I address him as Your Highness, he's caught off guard and apologetic for hiding the truth. Aiden explains that he enjoys being friends without the burden of royal status, but promises to show me the real him. He surprises me by taking me to visit his kids' foundation, impressing even Felix with his philanthropy. I am stunned, finding it hard to reconcile this side of Aiden with the media's portrayal of him as a womanizer. And Aiden invites me to the palace for dinner. And Sarah teases me about dating the almost king, which I denied. My wardrobe was a chaotic mess, leaving me without a suitable dress for the palace dinner. However, fortune smiled upon me as Henry entered my room, much like a fairy godmother, with an array of dresses on hangers, courtesy of Aiden. The girls swarmed over the dresses, selecting the perfect one for me. The palace bustled with activity for the evening's dinner. The Queen was displeased with the additional guests that Aiden had added to the list, and out of curiosity, she instructed Wickford to keep an eye on me. True to his word, Aiden sent a car to pick me up. I arrived at the palace wearing a formal black gown with silver jewelry, exuding a poised, cool, and collected persona as I admired the grandeur of the palace. In the coat room, Aiden found me and was captivated by my beauty. He complimented my dress, and our mild flirting was interrupted by the Queen's entrance, wearing a stern expression. My smile remained well-balanced as Aiden introduced me to the Queen. However, when awkwardly curtsied to the Queen, it became evident that I was unsure of proper royal etiquette. My only prior encounter with royalty was at Disneyland, after all. The dinner was uncomfortable for me. The ruling class elites of Calpurnia were in attendance, and I surprised them with the truth that I met the prince on the streets. This information was met with disapproval from the guests, and Aiden tried to save face by redirecting the conversation to his coronation. Aiden asked the guests for their thoughts on making his coronation public, but it became clear that they all shared the same stuffy and outdated view of the Queen. Lady Camilla, who the Queen had set her sights on becoming Adrian's wife, was no exception. The Queen attempted to set me up by asking for my opinion on the matter as an outsider. Reluctant at first, I eventually agreed with Aiden's suggestion to make the event public to improve the royal family's public image. Aiden was pleased with my support, but the other guests were not. The atmosphere became stuffy, and Adrian called for more wine, though he was secretly content with the outcome. Meanwhile, I feel agitated as I hastily gulped down my wine. I was filled with regret for having upset the Queen and the other guests as the uncomfortable dinner finally comes to an end. I apologize for the mood I have caused, and Aiden reassures me that everything is okay. As we chat, the Queen summons Adrian to her chambers and dismisses me abruptly. Aiden shows his defiance to the Queen by telling her that he can date whomever he pleases and storms off. The Queen is left surprised by his conviction. Later that night, Aiden throws snow at my window, waking me up. He invites me for a late-night walk to avoid the media, and we share our emotions. I advise Aiden to embrace his royal life with the foundation he runs. He opens up to me about feeling inferior to his father, but I reassure him that he is a great person in his own right. We share a romantic moment in private, but it is interrupted by a nosy photographer who takes pictures of us in the dark. During tea time the following morning, the Queen is filled with horror upon discovering a front-page photo in the newspaper of Adrian and me in a lip lock. She storms out of the dining room to find Aiden and express her anger. Meanwhile, me and Sarah are surrounded by reporters at the hotel, causing chaos. Henry intervenes and escorts us back to our room. Adrian, who is holding the offending newspaper, is confronted by the Queen, who is furious that he has once again made the news for the wrong reasons. Adrian, however, is more concerned about how I am coping with the situation. The Queen wants to prevent the news from affecting Aiden's coronation, but Adrian is not interested in discussing this with her. A heated argument ensues over his late father, leaving them both angry. As Sarah reads the article aloud, I walk around the room deep in thought, furious at the invasion of my privacy. The article's thorough rundown of my background worries me that it could negatively impact Aiden's coronation. Then I receive a surprise call from my parents, who have come across the picture of me in a lip lock with a stranger. I tried to explain that it was just a kiss, but my father reminds me that their law firm takes social media appearances seriously, and such behavior might not be condoned. This leaves me even more worried, as I had tried to forget about the law firm during my trip. Meanwhile, Henry takes it upon himself to chase reporters away from the hotel entrance. Later, Adrian surprises me with beautiful flowers and an apology for involving me in the media frenzy. We share a passionate moment, and Adrian suggests they fly to Paris together, even inviting Sarah to join. I am tempted but remind him of his coronation, and we both know that the news of their getaway will create unwanted attention. Adrian is annoyed that the tabloids always have something to say about him, and I suggest promoting his children's foundation, but he refuses to use the kids as pawns. Our almost kiss is interrupted by Adrian's alarm, and we part ways. As the scene progresses, I receive Felix's card from Adrian and promise to contact him if I need help. In the next scene, I and Sarah walk down the street in disguise to avoid reporters. Sarah is surprised that I turned down Adrian's Paris offer, but I argue that their relationship is still new, despite him being a prince. However, my reality check comes when I receive a job offer from the law firm I interviewed with, reminding me of my picture with Adrian online. Unbeknownst to me, the Queen has taken matters into her own hands and had her investigated. After discovering my affiliation with the law firm, the Queen paid them to recruit me immediately and take me away from Calpurnia, much to my dismay. While I am ready to leave Calpurnia, Sarah persuades me to consider the potential consequences of leaving Adrian and taking the job at the law firm. She fears that I may end up miserable, as the job doesn't fulfill me. After much deliberation, I finally decide to take the law firm job to make my father proud. I visit Adrian at the Children's Foundation to break the news to him, and he gifts me a beautiful bracelet made by a kid I helped overcome stage fright. Despite the thoughtful gesture, I feel overwhelmed with emotions and regrets about leaving the kids and Calpurnia for an unfulfilling job. Adrian senses my sadness and asks me about it. When I reveal her decision to leave, he's heartbroken and speechless but encourages me to take the leap. However, I remain firm in my decision and walk away, leaving Adrian feeling lost. Back at the palace, the Queen expects to gloat over Adrian but instead finds him sad and broken. He promises to give up bike riding after his coronation, which surprises the Queen and makes her happy that her son is coming back to her. Meanwhile, I can't stop thinking about Adrian and call him the next day to check up on him. I advise him to show his true self to his mother, but he throws my advice back, telling me to do the same. I was speechless and quickly ends the call. Realizing that I want to do something nice for Adrian before leaving, I enlist the help of Felix to arrange a surprise visit to the Queen. Despite the Queen's initial surprise and confusion, I promise to depart from Calpurnia, putting an end to the drama. The next day, I decides to take the law firm job to make my father proud but is heartbroken to leave Adrian and the Children's Foundation. I try to justify my decision to Adrian, but he asks me to stay with him. But I leave anyway, but later enlist Felix's help to convince the Queen to visit the foundation. The Queen is impressed and invites the children to perform at Adrian's coronation, which is now open to the public. I receive a personal invitation but fear I won't be able to leave Calpurnia again if I attend. On the day of his coronation, Adrian is found by the Queen staring at his attire. With my help, their relationship has improved and the Queen regrets her past actions. She visits me at the hotel and apologizes for trying to force her out of Adrian's life. The Queen offers me a better job in Europe to expand Adrian's foundation, which excites me but also confuses me. Meanwhile, Adrian is fully dressed and hoping for me to show up. He inspects the visitors but is disappointed when realizing I am not there. His coronation, open to the public and press, is a success. His heartfelt speech impresses everyone, and even his mother is smiling. Adrian's joy is complete when he sees me walk into the room looking stunning in a red dress. Adrian is completely lost in his love for me, forgetting about his coronation. Despite the crowd's teasing, he is finally crowned king and receives the people's loyalty. However, his attention remains fixated on me, and he rushes to spend time with me instead of socializing with dignitaries. Our reunion is beautiful, and we share a passionate kiss, even in front of the Queen who looks on with joy.